Good evening out there, all you folks out there in YouTube Nation. Thrash Bondo here. As promised, I bring you another live chat. And I'm a little early, which is funny because it was taking me forever to get set up. So I really thought I was going to be a little bit late. But look who's already here, waiting in the proverbial wings. Tracy from Tracy's Fractured History and More says, Hiya. And hello to you too, Bubba. So good to see you. We were just actually on Tug's special edition Stephen King podcast earlier today. The entertainment headquarters is here. Kevin, how you doing? Kevin says hello, and hello back to you too. Welcome to the party. Oh, I see. I got your information about shooting for November. I'll I'll get back to you as soon as I know. I got to tell you, Saturdays are kind of dicey for me, but I will keep you posted. And sooner or later, we're going to work things out. I know you're tricky with your schedule from the UK. I know Mr. Anubis has a very busy schedule as well, but I promise you we'll work something out. Face the Ace is here. Ace, how you doing? Welcome to the party. And of course, Sister Sarah, my flock is everywhere, says hi everyone. Hi to you, Sister Sarah. Sister Sarah, please drop a link for yourself. Oh, and please drop a link for the entertainment headquarters. And oh, I'm glad that you're doing a great as well. Face the Ace. And everyone's saying hello to one another. And I'll go. Oh, Wajamin is here. Sarah, please give Wajamin a link as well. Wajamin, so good to see you. Hello. Gary Carpenter's here. He says, Ghoulish greetings, guys and ghouls. I'm back. And we're always glad to have you there, Mr. Gary. Oh, Esmeralda's here as well. Hello, Thrash and Chat. Esmeralda, so glad you could make it tonight, by the way. Thank you for dropping the link, Sarah. And tonight's topic, one I am gonna have trivia tonight, and in deference, in respect, in honor of Tug's live chat earlier today. The trivia is going to be on Stephen King, the works of Stephen King. But our concept tonight is we're going to do famous monsters versus famous monsters. Take any two famous monsters of any kind from any film, horror book, comic, but two that have never paired off, and tell me who you think would win in a confrontation and why. And that is going to be our concept for tonight. And let me just make sure. Okay, we got the link here. Everybody's saying hello and having fellowship. Tom McCluskey is here and says hi, guys. Tom, so good to see you. And I'm a little sniffly tonight, by the way, folks. Please bear with me. I'm probably not going to make it a late show because I got an early day tomorrow, and I'm hoping to wake up. Not that's why I got the robe on. It's absolutely freezing. It was in the 40s today on Cape Cod. Oh, look who is here! It is Danny Staten. Where is Danny? I just saw him. Did he delete? Did he retract the message? Oh, Mr. Wilkinson is here. Mr. Wilkinson. Love the costume, by the way. Happy Halloween and welcome to the live chat as always. Gary Carpenter says some actor from the movie The Warriors died recently. Oh, I hope it wasn't James Raymar. I there's a bell ringing in my head. Anyone knows? Please let me know. Das Gimp is here. Says, "Hey, y'all, Das Gimp. So glad. Welcome to the party. So good to see you today." And I'm just going to skim through to make sure Oh, Superplex is here. Says, hello, everyone. Superplex, I love that show you sent me. By the way, the first episode, and I'm going to butcher the names. I promised myself I was going to remember them, but I've already forgotten. The lady, of course, that was Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life. And the husband, I believe, was from that very famous episode of Twilight Zone. It's a Good Life. He's the guy who wanted to be the bring the Jack in the Box in. Okay, and Kevin says Creature of the Black Lagoon versus Wolfman. I think it would be an even battle, but Wolfman, I think, would win. Way I see it in that confrontation, if the Gilman is smart, he'll fight the Wolfman near water. And in the confrontation, drag him because remember the Gilman can breathe air, but the Wolfman can't breathe water. He pulls the Wolfman into the water and drowns him. This will be even easier if the confrontation um, is close to dawn. But I'm going to vote Team Gilman. But that's a great confrontation. Very good. Dominic D's here says, "Hi, Bob. Hey, everyone. Hello to you too. Great to see you." I just jumped, but I think I'm not. Charlotte Ray. Yes, yes. Charlotte Ray was Mrs. Garrett. Girls, girls. And thank you for that find, by the way. It was a very fun show, and I love Roald Dahl at the beginning. By the way, he was very genteel as the show's host. I'm just gonna skim through the hellos. Lance Chaffins here says just say in hi. I'm not staying. Sorry, hey Lance, you stay as long as you can, as long as you feel like it. But if you have to bail, more than understand. But that was very kind of you to stop by tonight. For however duration. Thank you very much, man. We love you. Mr. Led is here. Says, "Hey, Bob and everyone. Hey to you too, Mr. Led. Thank you for the link, Sister Sarah." And Esmeralda says to Gary Carpenter, "Hello, so good to see you in the chat." It certainly is. It certainly is. And I just jumped a little, but I think I'm not too far behind. A lot of people just saying hello to one another. Gary says, "Everyone, y'all missed the concert last night." I did. I'm very sorry I missed it, but apparently You were telling me it's still on, so I'll try to catch it on YouTube. So I'll try to catch it. Uh, Gary Copper says Godzilla versus Gamera. That is the age-old question. That is possibly number one. And there's no wrong answer, but as soon as I catch up, Esmeralda says hello to anyone I missed in the chat. Likewise, I am sure if I missed you, please forgive me. And Zublik says, every cigarette focused. Yes, every cigarette should be focused. And John Doe is here, says, "What's going on? I'm not in the right state of mind right now, but I'm trying to stay positive." We'll do everything we can. Everybody send John Doe positive vibes, by the way. He's trying really, really hard to be in a good state, and we're all behind you, John. And thank you for dropping by tonight. Tracy says, "Message retracted," and a message retracted to you as well. Farmers Content is here, says, "Hey, I'm early for once. Hi, Thrash and all, and it's so great to have you here. Farmers Content, welcome to the party." And Zublik says, "Hope we can help you stay, John Doe." Likewise, I am sure. And boom. Kevin says, "To me personally, will you be watching the new Nautilus series?" I only just heard about it. I'd like to check it out. But I'm not too familiar. Daryl Johnson is here. Says, "It was David Harris who passed away. He played Cochise." Oh, bummer. Cochise was a cool character. He was 75. Rest in peace, Mr. Cochise. Thank you, Sarah, for the link. And I think I'm more or less caught up. Daryl says, "Hi, guys." Indy Spouts says, "Godzilla versus Gamera. I hope you really like turtle soup because you're going to be stuck with plenty of it." Yes, Godzilla is substantially bigger than Gamera. Gamera can fly, but and this is pointed out to me, my buddy Tom, by the way, who I don't know if he's here tonight. If he is, he's ghosting us. But he brought up the best point. It's really, really, really hard to hurt Godzilla. You can, but it's tough. Gamera is like the hemophiliac of kaiju. So I don't think it would be like a foregone conclusion. But if I have to bet Godzilla versus Gamera, I'm going to bet on Team Godzilla. Chance! Oh my God, Chance is here. Chance, the Nostalgic Pod Blast is here. Mrs. Thresh says hi, Chance. Oh, and she loved those grease cards you sent us, by the way. Thanks again, by the way. That's from like we're going way back. We're going back to one of your trivia contests, but you had Cards out today, by the way, we're just talking about them. So thank you again. I'm so glad you could stop by. John Doe says, I'm fighting MDD right now. I'm very, very sorry. I'm very sorry, John. Good luck with the fight. Gary Carpenter says, Indy, no, I don't like turtle soup. Just ninjas. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. One of them was actually from the town I went to college, North Adams, Mass. They met in school somewhere here in New England. They were both from Massachusetts. But I started collecting those when they first came out. Although I had the chance to buy the first edition #1 comic and I didn't. Still kicking myself. Let's just see. I think I skipped a couple, so I'm gonna go back. John Doe says, if you go by stats, Godzilla wins. Yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's kind of where we would all end up. Although, again, it would be a good fight. Chance says, Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you too, Chance. Zuplik says everyone was named Cochise according to Dennis Miller. Worcester, Burncoat Street, represent. Wait, I'm thinking Dennis Leary. Never mind. Dennis Miller was cool too, but he's not from Worcester. And you got to say it like that. It's not Worcester like everyone else from the rest of the country pronounces it. It's Worcester, as in my sister Krista got a blister where you kissed her. Now let's see, where did I leave off? Ah, yes. Chances you're sweet, Sarah. My flock is everywhere. John says, "Oh yeah, we go by stats." Adam, I agree with you. Keith E says, "Hello, just played lurking. Have a great feed." Keith, so glad you could make it tonight. By the way, and I love the story of the DoorDash. He tells the story on Facebook of a DoorDash driver who brought him some food, KFC, who was hearing impaired, and you two should go on the road solving mysteries. Just let him drive. Kevin says, I would love to review Nautilus series with you. I will start watching it then. Because you know what? I had so much fun doing that with Fargo, and that was a solo project. So I'll start watching Nautilus and get back to you ASAP. And Tom says, met most of the actors from the Warriors at convention last year. Super cool. Super cool. Love that movie. You know, it was supposed to be in a comic format like Creepshow was. We were just talking about that earlier today. Tom, oh, wait, I already read Tom's. Zublik says hello to Mrs. Thrash. Chances Hulk smash that like button for Thrash. Thank you so much. Hey, we're doing pretty good. We got 12 viewers and 14 likes. I can't beat that. Gary Carpenter says, John Doe, you bet your sweet Bibby that Godzilla wins. And I just jumped, but I'm gonna go. Oh, actually, I was actually caught up. Go me. Gary Carpenter says message retracted. Oh, is it repeating on you automatically again? And Gary Carpenter says KW, it's you who Esmeralda. And Zublik says Godzilla has bad breath. That alone is in his favor. And he says if you're talking about the 1978 Topps Caesar card set, I had all 132 of them once upon a time. Wow. Wow. Yes, it was Topps cards. And I won them in one of Chance's trivia contests months ago. And John Doe says, I think it's best to just imagine Godzilla versus Gamera and leave it at that. And Gary Carpenter says, yeah, it can't be put out, the bad breath. And pardon me, I'm a little scratchy. And then John says, but maybe a team up is better. Oh, if Godzilla and Gamera teamed up and fought Angulus, that would be one of the most one-sided kaiju battles, huh? And Dominic D says, I hate to be Godzilla's dentist. Yeah, I know, right? And Mr. Lid says, hit the like button. Everyone's 16 watching, only 13 likes. Hey, we're up to 15. So there you go. And Zublik says, Godzilla had bad gas that farts in reverse. And Gary Carpenter says, Don Doe, and afterwards a team up together would be better. It certainly would. It certainly would. It could be like Gilgamesh and Enkidu. After they fight, they team up and go fight other things. I can see that. And then he says to Dominic D, well, I'd hate to be cousin It's Plumber. Entry says, I am back. LOL, great to have you back. And Gary says, Indian, I hate to be his barber. And Mr. Lynn says, I thought I said earlier, Ken, if not, hello. Oh, yes, to anyone who's missed anyone, everyone says hello to everyone else. We're just one big happy family. Hi, John Boy. Hi, Liz Girl. Hi, Fruit Bat. Hi. Tom says, does anybody watch Dan Monroe? I have not. Esmeralda says to and she's laughing at something Tracy said. And Kevin says, who would win between Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees? That's a good one. In fact, they were going to make a movie about it, but they couldn't get the rights. Much, much as I'm a huge fan of Jason, I'm going to give it to Michael Myers. Michael Myers is an actual demon. Jason is more demon adjacent. But I'm gonna my gut instinct would be to say go with Mike Myers. But again, there's no wrong answer. Anyone else team Mike Myers, or are we gonna do to Jason? And Dumpty says, yeah, it would be an all day project giving cousin it a trim. I know, really. And Zublik says, they never die to Kevin. That's true too. Neither one of them. Well, Jason did. He came back. And Tracy says, I would love to see Godzilla eat hot chili. And Gary Carpenter says, Jason, I guess. Again, there's no wrong answer. And Teb says, hello, Thrash. Happy Halloween week. Terrell Eugene Bellinger, is so good to have you with us. Welcome. And Foremost Contenders here says, hello to Wedge, Kevin, and sorry if I missed anyone. And Gary Carpenter says, Dracula versus Freddy Krueger. Dracula. Particularly Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Because remember, they're going to have to fight at night. And Kevin says Godzilla and Gamera and King Ghidorah and Destroyer. Oh, now we're going to do tag teams. Excellent. And Indy says to Tracy, and just out of curiosity, how many stories tall was the building you threw your faulty microphone out of? That was pretty tall. And John says, when does Godzilla -1 come out on DVD? Are they even still producing DVD? I don't even think that's a thing anymore, but hopefully soon. And Gary says, a double team up. Great. Yes, indeed. That would actually be fun. And Zublik says, how can you return from death? In horror movies, it happens all the time. Even Godzilla came back from the dead, didn't he? And John Doe says the next Ghostbusters movie should be Ghostbusters versus Nightmare on Elm Street. Ooh, ooh, that could be fun. That could be fun. I like that. So who would win, the Ghostbusters or Freddy Krueger? I'm gonna say the Ghostbusters. Because there's more of them. There'd probably be heavy casualties, but I think they'd prevail. Oh, by the way, that's the topic for tonight, by the way. Halloween spirit, we're doing monsters versus monsters. Take any two monsters from film, TV, books, comic books, anything. Any two monsters which have not actually had a confrontation, and pick which would win in a confrontation and why. Kevin says this is weird, but I'll come in again. This is weird, but was actually an idea that was being discussed in early development. Freddy versus Chucky. The title was Child's Play on Elm Street. I could actually see that. I could actually, honest to God, I could actually see that. Another one that I'm going to do, and I'm going to have to explain it. Initially, King Kong wasn't supposed to fight Godzilla because, of course, Godzilla didn't come out until years later. Originally, the Universal had the idea to have King Kong fight Frankenstein. Yes, Frankenstein was going to be somehow artificially enhanced in size, so he was at least comparable to King Kong, and the two of them were going to fight. This was never made, but the Japanese made billions of yen on the idea when they acquired the rights and they made King Kong versus Godzilla. They made Frankenstein Conquers the World, or I believe Frankenstein versus Baragon. Well, let's go with that. And it even had a sequel, War of the Gargantuas. So they took this throwaway idea from Willis O'Brien that was never actually brought to fruition and made three feature films out of it. You got to give it to him. And the funny thing about Frankenstein Conquers the World is that it's one of the few Toho movies that actually references World War II. They try not to. They try not to. Gary says, John Doe, how about both sets of Ghostbusters versus Dracula and the movie Monster, Werewolf, Mummy, The Gilman, The Bride, The Fly, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? Okay, now we're actually doing team combat. You can do it, but it starts to unravel. It's like the good wrestlers when fighting the bad wrestlers. There's so many, it sort of balances out. Um, Ted says, "What's the most frightening horror movie you've ever seen?" I don't know if it's maybe not necessarily most frightening horror movie, but the movie that I jump scared twice notably in this. It's an old horror movie. Well, not that old. It's from 1980. Set in New England, the scariest place in all of the United States. Set in New England. It's called Ghost Story, and twice I jumped out of my seat. I watched the movie with my mother, and it was awkward. Watching the opening love sequence. I was like, "Oh, oops!" But hey, we were both adults. And he says, "To B.O.B. from Monsters versus Aliens, taking on the Blob. Good luck, everyone." I never saw Monsters versus Aliens, but I'm guessing it's some type of blob monster. So a blob on blob. Hey, again, no wrong answer. But it could be fun. Oh, Michael's Drones is here. Says hello, Thresh Bondo. Michael, are you feeling better? Are you home from the hospital? Everybody, send positive vibes to Mike. Mike suffered a heart attack, and the last post I saw of his, he was actually still in the hospital. Hope you feel better, my brother. And Gary says Team Godzilla is right. Yes, we're still everyone is firmly Team Godzilla. John Doe says Mars Attacks versus Invaders from Mars. Oh, definitely Mars Attacks. A lot of people saying hello to Mike. Indy says to Teb, scariest movie, The Exorcist. Scariest character, Joe Pesci from Goodfellas. Ooh, you talking about me? Oh no, no, that's I had De Niro stuck in my head. Different movie. What am I, a clown? Like I'm here to amuse you? Like funny how? And Indy says Bambi versus Godzilla. Oh wait, that destroy. When I first saw that on Night Flight when I was like 14, I thought it was the funniest thing I had ever seen in my life. It just destroyed me. Kevin says minus one is released in December on physical media. It returns to theaters out limited time only for Godzilla's 70th anniversary on November 4th. I might actually get a chance to see it. Holy cow. Gary says, I will never want to watch The Exorcist, Carrie, Leatherface, Jason, and Freddy. No, but that would make a great fight. Uh, Mr. Lid says, Christopher Lee as Dracula when I was about 8 years old. Oh yeah, what's that one where he tricks the guy into thinking it's his girlfriend at the window, and then when the guy gets up to the window, Lee kind of jumps through it. That scared the Bee Gees out of me when I was a kid. uh, Form Content is here. Says Poltergeist House versus Amityville Horror House. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Amityville Horror. Amityville Horror. Esmeralda says, I love Ghost Story. Yeah, it's a great movie, huh? And Gary says, and that goes double for Chucky, Jeepers Creepers, Pumpkinhead, Jaws, and Alien. And Zerbil says, Scariest movie I ever saw was In Cold Blood because it was real. Oh, and Mama Thrash was just we were talking about that. How Truman Capote developed this bizarre relationship with the perpetrators so that he could get the story. And John Doe says, I saw The Exorcist by myself alone in the dark when I was around three. And you can turn the lights off now. That may have something to do with my mental health problems. I don't mean to laugh, but no, I can see that. I saw the commercial. I saw the commercial for The Exorcist when I was like 7 or 8, and that scared me. So I can see that. Tim says, I've just learned that David Harris, who played Cochise in the cult classic The Warriors, has passed away at the age of 75. Rest in peace. We were just talking about that earlier, Tim. So, yes, definitely. That's a rest in peace moment, by the way. Rest in peace to Cochise. And Duplex says, hope you are feeling better, Michael. And Kevin says, the Night King from Game of Thrones versus Vecna from Stranger Things. Stranger Things. And thank you for the link, Sarah. And Dragon Z Bar says, Bob. Dragon Z Bar, welcome to the party. It's so good to see you. Hope you are having a good time. Tonight's topic is going to be monsters versus monsters. Quick rundown. You take two monsters from any form of literature that have never paired off. You put them in an imaginary setting and tell us which one you think will win and why. But thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to the party. WT says, I agree with you on those indie. Hannibal Lecter might be tied with Joe Pesci. Oh, no, Joe Pesci's scarier. Um, Perhaps you should be more afraid of Hannibal Lecter, but Joe Pesci was scarier. And, but I can see where you're going. And I just jumped, so I'm going to have to. Oh, Michael's still in the hospital. Very, very sorry. Hope you feel better very, very, very soon. And I'm going to skim down. Gary Carpenter says, I liked The Uninvited with Ray Milland. Ray Milland did a surprisingly high number of horror films, by the way, and he was usually very good in them. He was also in a very early form of a post-apocalyptic film, Panic in the Year Zero, which is surprisingly intense for this like late 50s sci-fi disaster film. Tracy says Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver, that was a pretty intense film. I'll give you that one. And Dominic D wishes Mike a speedy recovery. Gary Cameron says, I still like the Ghost in Mr. Chicken. I got to see that. It was like in my elementary school, they did this thing where they were doing like one Friday a month. You could, if you wanted to, you could stay after school and they would show a movie in the gymnatorium. Gymnatorium, the autonasium, whatever you want to call it. And Mama Thrash could actually pick me up after work because she got out around the time the movie was getting out. It was perfect. So for a while, I was like staying after school on Fridays and watching movies, and we get to see the Ghost of Mr. Chicken once. What do you mean? Also wishes you a speedy recovery. A lot of people. Oh, Christopher says hi to Michael. Hope you feel better too. Form says, I hope you get well, Michael. As does Tom McCluskey. And Indy says, if you can't sneak decent food into the hospital with all your drones, what hope do the rest of us have? That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. Good luck with that, by the way. But I hope you're getting good food. And Esmeralda says, so sorry you're still in the hospital and having to put up with the food. There we go again. Teb says, the Deadites from the Evil Dead franchise freaked me out. I can see that. I can certainly see how they would. Uh, and Michael says the food isn't too good in the hospital. That's for sure. Ziblik says Capote was gay, and so was Perry Smith, one of the killers. I was actually tap dancing around the actual specifics of their relationship, Zuplex. But if you want to read that on the record, yes, there was a certain uh, romantic angle in that as well. I thought both of them were, to be honest, with both of the killers were, but at least one. And Christopher says, I thought Night of the Living Dead was scary, Bob. It is scary, and it's still one of my favorite horror movies of all time, if not the favorite. The favorite. And Dragon Zbar says, because it's healthy. LOL. And Tom says, saw The Exorcist on the big screen last week. First time I've seen it. Excellent. And a lot of people saying hello to. By the way, Dragon Z Bar. It just boom. I'm so sorry. I thought I was thinking like Dragon Ball Z. Dragon. Dragon is my erstwhile coworker. Dragon worked with me. For the last was it? You started even before the summer. But he's been working with me in the restaurant these past many months. One of my favorite coworkers, just a all around great guy, super mensch. Last night was his last night. We bid him an adieu, and he promised me he was going to try to make it tonight. So it occurred to me that Dragon is Dragon and not Dragon Ball Z. So Dragon, so glad you could make it to the party. By the way, and again, I miss you already, you big lug. So there you go. But thank you for showing up as promised, and because it's healthy. Yeah, our food is good and not particularly healthy, right, Dragon? And Tom, yeah, I saw the Exorcist big screen. And John Doe says it was because I didn't want to be scared of horror movies, so I went to the extreme on that one. You certainly did. And Mr. Lewis says the first book Stephen King I read was Pet Cemetery, and it creeped me out. I can certainly see that. Gary Carpenter says that's another thing. No zombie movies. Former contender says our preacher gave a sermon against The Exorcist at the time, and it scared me enough to never watch the movie. And also said, love the SNL Exorcist though. The bed is on my foot. The bed is on my foot. I love that sketch. And John says, Night of the Creeps versus Graboids from Tremors. Ooh. Tremors. I'm gonna go with Tremors. Oh, perfect guess for tonight's show. Mystery Men and Monsters says, I love Panic at the Year Zero. M. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's a great movie. I own it. A rare movie where Frankie Avalon does not play this like light singing beach going heartthrob. It's a pretty intense. And the weird thing is, they actually deleted some scenes. There are a couple of scenes that were actually deleted from that actually um the three hoods who take over the farmhouse that kill the parents and sort of abduct the teenage girl. She's a little more vivid of what the shenanigans they were up to were. It's pretty intense. But I love it. It's a great movie. Oh, and tonight's topic is take two monsters from anywhere in literature that have never had a confrontation, and you put them together and tell us who you think would win. That's the game for tonight. And Gary says, I'll watch The White Zombie with Bella Lugosi. I love White Zombie with Bella Lugosi. It's just great pre-code film. And I'm going to kind of skim a little bit here because I think I'm getting behind. Mr. Lynn says Ray Milland in The Man with Two Heads with Rosie Greer. I own that. I own that. And Tom says gonna watch Rocky Horror on Halloween. Great movie for Halloween. Great movie for Halloween. And then he says, that a boy, Luther. That a boy, Luther. That a boy. Kether, Luther. Kether. And Zublik says, I saw White Zombie 2, so different from the other zombie movies. Well, yeah, because it's not Night of the Living Dead ghoul zombies. They're the black magic used as slave zombies, which is traditionally what zombies were before Romero changed them into the marauding ghouls. Um, Esmeralda says Rocky Horror is very fun. Forum says apparently Rocky Horror is on Disney now. Wow. Didn't the Disney Channel didn't they finance the reboot of the Rocky Horror Picture Show? I know the girl who plays Janet in it was a child star, but I believe she was Nickelodeon, not Disney. But I believe she left Disney, Nickelodeon to work for Disney, like a lot of them did. Probably the smart play. And Gary says, "Form that is one weird movie I won't watch." And John Doe says, "Scooby Doo versus Night of the Living Dead, Tom Savini cut." I can see that. And ooh, we just jumped again, but I think I'm catching up. No, I'm not. And Mike says, to Anjameen, thank you so much for having. I'm having a hard time with the reception here in the hospital. Oh, sorry, dude, but I'm glad you're sticking with us. And he says, did you change your mind on Stephen King Trivia Night at Pub? No, in fact, I have the trivia right here. And as soon as I catch up, we will begin. And Gary says to John Doe, Scooby and the gang meets the Ghostbusters. Trace says Shaun of the Dead. I love Shaun of the Dead. He really did his homework. That's the great thing. That action movie holds up as a horror movie, even when it's not being funny. And Zibble says, Dick Hickok was what you would call a sexual opportunist. Gay when I see. I got you. Thank you. He was the other killer from In Cold Blood. Now I got you. So it was sort of a Tyrone Power and Errol Flynn relationship, if I understand both correctly. And Dragon says Dragon versus Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, my brother. Of course, you would always win. You would always prevail. And Emily says, "I am Tracy, just lurking." You know, Emily, I could have sworn, I could have sworn, like Danny Staten, I could have sworn I saw your icon earlier, and but then I didn't see the other messages, so I thought I imagined it. But if you are here and lurking, so good to see you, my lady. Happy Halloween. And Tim says, The Simpsons is known for its annual Treehouse of Terror special episodes that aired all around around the Halloween time. Yes, and those were excellent. I love those. I didn't they come up with a compilation of those a while ago. And he says Bob's Restaurant versus Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It's funny that you mentioned that because in Return of the Killer Tomatoes, Italian cuisine is banned because you have to grow tomatoes for it. So Italian cuisine becomes the Italian mobsters aren't selling beer; they're actually selling Italian food. It's actually bordering on clever. And Dragon says, haha, that would be a hard one. And Gary says, I'm getting ready, really tired of those Simpson Trios of Terror movies. Boring. And John Doe says, Return to Living Dead versus The Gate. Ooh, toughie. I'll go with Return to Living Dead. Kevin Scott 76 years says, Hey Thrash, yesterday I played banjo with the symphony for Rhapsody in Blue. That sounds amazing. And Kevin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to the party. And Gary Gabber says Gemmer versus Geigen. I'm gonna go with Gemmer on that one. I never liked Geigen. And Kevin says Alien versus the Great Pumpkin Alien. And Emily says, "Good evening, Kenneth. What whatever your name is, I'm exhausted. I can't remember your name. I'll just call him Mr. Wilkinson." Tracy says, "I love the Great Pumpkin." Emily says, "Yeah, that's it." And Teb says, "Frankenstein goes up against Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde." Frankenstein, definitely. Tubb says, Attaboy, Luther, attaboy. Zublik says, the creature that almost ate the Millennium Falcon from Empire Strikes Back will beat any monster. I don't know if any monster, but certainly up there. Rodan versus the Giant Claw. Rodan. I gotta go with Rodan. Godzilla versus the Behemoth. Godzilla. And there's a blonde actress in the Behemoth who is like wicked hot, and I've never been able to find her in anything else. And John Doe says Phantom of the Opera versus the Invisible Man. Always go with the Invisible Man. He has the advantage. And Gary Carpenter says Godzilla versus the Deadly Mantis. Ooh, good one, but I'm going to have to go with Godzilla. And Gary says Gamera versus the Deadly Mantis. Still gonna go with Gamera. Both can fly, and the Mantis doesn't really have any special powers, but Gamera can breathe fire. So, Tim says, I mean Frankenstein versus Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I thought that's what I said, but okay. Gary Carter says Mummy versus the Wolf Man. Wolfman. Wolfman. Zubik says message retracted. Gary Carpenter says Ebria versus It Came From Beneath the Sea. That's a good one. That's a good one. Usually octopi eat crustaceans, but Ebra pretty badass. I'm gonna go with Ebra. John Doe says Fiend Without a Face versus the Tingler. Fiend Without a Face. That movie scared the Bee Gees out of me as a kid. And Gary says, I just found a movie online, Dracula versus Frankenstein, and he's his prisoner. Is that the that's the Al Adamson movie. I believe. And he says Invisible Man versus Hollow Man. We may be here for a while. Pennywise versus Killer Clowns, Emily. I'm gonna go with Pennywise. He's a demon. Brogu's here says hi everyone. I'll go with Godzilla as well, as will I. And Keith E says the Swamp Thing versus the creature from the Black Lagoon. Swamp Thing. Oh, Aquaman versus Gilman. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a coin toss, but I'll probably go with the Gilman. Uh oh, um, Mr. Lynn says Tarantula versus Ants from Them. Ants from Them, they'll outnumber them. And Foremost contenders here: Christine versus Killdozer. Christine. Christine had style. And Gary Cameron says Mr. Led, the Deadly Mantis versus Tarantula. Deadly Mantis. And he says, I think the blonde actress you're talking about is Leah Madison. She wasn't in much. No, her IMBD, she's in like three things. And the only one I'd heard of is The Behemoth. But she was a very attractive young lady. Well, she was 70 years ago. And Gary Cameron says Swamp Thing versus Man Thing. Good one, good one. I'm going to go with Man Thing. And Brogan says, I agree, Christine had style. Yeah, you have to go with the more stylish of the monsters. Well, you know what? We can keep this going. We can go this Keith. We can keep this go. We can exercise go, as the Japanese would say. But what I'm trying desperately to say, Garfield would outfox him. Oh, Garfield versus Heathcliff, I'm guessing. Oh, so it says Cujo versus Garfield. Ooh. Do not pass go. I like that. What do you mean? And he says she was in the Invisible Man TV series. Wow, I did not know that. I didn't know that. Tim says Bride of Frankenstein versus Zool. Zool. Definitely Zool. And Tree says Dracula versus Frankenstein. They did that one. Dracula. Unless the fight is too really close to dawn. And Brogy says Hammer Dracula versus other Dracula. Hammer Dracula. Oh, come on, Mr. Lee. He was it. He was it. But anyway, JC News Now says, Yeehaw. JC News Now. You are just in time. You are just in time. We're going to play a trivia game. I compile these trivia questions myself. And in the spirit of Halloween, and friend of channel, the Unapologetic Geek, whose podcast we were on today, we're talking about Stephen King movies. We're going to be 10 questions on the works of Stephen King. So if I miss anyone's questions for a minute, please bear with me. But as always, I shall read them in no particular order. Number 10. What does Annie claim to be in the horror masterpiece Misery? A, the number one fan. B, the long lost daughter. C, the father. I am your father. Or D, father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. Oh, Gary Gilbert says energy vampires from We Live in the Shadows versus Debbie Downer from Debbie Downer. And he says you usually don't see that type of activity in major appliances. Um and JC says, Tracy Getsy. Yes, Tracy is Getsy, isn't she? And yeah, and Tracy was actually on the Unapologetic Geeks podcast with me earlier today as well. But somehow I think you knew that. Anyway, I shall repeat the question because I always do. Who does Annie claim to be in the horror masterpiece Misery? A, number one fan. B, the long lost daughter. C, no, I am your father. Or D, father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. And yes, looks like oh my god, oh my gosh. Pat, Pat is here from the Golden Age of TV. Mr. Pat, how are you doing, my brother? You know, I was YouTubing last night, by the way, and I was watching your performance with the Let It Go rendition that was being done at the it was soap opera awards, wasn't it? But you were actually amazing. You actually stole the performance. So anyway, Pat, it's so great to see you here with us. By the way, Tracy, please give Pat a um a link. Please give a link to Pat's channel. If you haven't checked out his channel, you should. He's been putting out some. Um, I love the shorts you've been putting out recently. Just great stuff. And oh, but anyway, yes, it was a number one fan. A is the number one. Number 9. This child's fever dream of a horror flick features a killer clown. Was it A, It, B, Rose Red, C, The Shining, or D, Killer Clowns from Outer Space? I shall repeat. This child's fever dream of a horror flick features a killer clown. Was it A, It, B, Rose Red, C, The Shining, or D, Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Trey says, I'm still having issues sharing, Bob. Quite all right. Quite all right. uh, Gary Gabbard says, Moon of the Wolf, Barbara Rush. And Pat says, Killer Clowns filmed right here. That's you mentioned that before. Yes, the Coda brothers did that film, I believe. I want to say. And I love the theme song done by the Dickies. Killer Clown, wow, woo, from outer space. And Emily says, JC, I'll figure it out somehow. Zuppel says, still you see Susan Lucci, Pat. JC News Now says, oh, thank you. Not sure who said what, but ditto for me as well, JC. And Kyoto Brothers. And Gary says Joker and Pennywise in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Ooh, that'd be a good flick. Apparently, Mama Thrash says I was scared of clowns when I was a kid. And Dominic D says, I didn't know there was a soap opera channel. And Emily says, Pat, when should we break the news to our current spouses? Yes, and Retro Pals is coming up. Retro Pals is coming up and very soon. Not entirely sure. I'm so bummed out. Barry was having inviting us all to be on his Halloween broadcast Saturday, and I couldn't make it, and I was so disappointed. And Mr. Liz says KK was on Svengoolie a couple of weeks ago. I was watching Svengoolie Faithful, and I had to stop watching. And you know what? I never answered the question, did I? The answer, of course, is D. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. No, I kid. It's it. Number 8. Stand By Me was based on this work by Stephen King. Was it A, The Boogeyman, B, the slow mutants, C, the body, or D, suffer the little children? I shall repeat. Stand By Me was based on this work by Stephen King. A, the boogeyman, B, the slow mutants, C, the body, or D, suffer the little children? And you guys are all in your game today. A lot of Stephen King fans on the show tonight. Yes, yes, I won't keep it in suspenders. It is, of course, C, the body. John Doe says the running man. Number 7. Which King classic had the notable catchphrase, "They're going to laugh at you"? Was it A, Misery, B, The Shining, C, Carrie, or D, Joker? And I shall repeat. Which classic, I'll come in again. Which King classic had the notable catchphrase, "They're going to laugh at you"? Was it A, Misery, B, The Shining, C, Carrie, or D, Joker? Super blanks. I must confess, I got that from the line from I've never actually seen the movie, but on the trailer. I told them I wanted to be a comedian, and they all laughed. Well, who's laughing now? Which I thought was genius. Formos Canon says, "I'm not even a King fan, and I've done well so far." Yeah. Um, Mrs. Thrash actually got 8 out of 10. Pat said, "Played by Patty McCormick." Very good, very good. And yes, of course, the correct answer is C. Anybody remember the old Adam Sandler bit where, can you imagine, like, your mother did that, and it's just everything the kids are gonna do. She's like, "They're gonna laugh at you. They're gonna laugh at you." I'm going to the store. No, they're gonna laugh at you. They're gonna laugh at you. It was much funnier than I'm making it out to be. But I do what I can. John Doe says King wrote the Running Man book, and Christopher Reeve was going to start it until Schwarzenegger got into it. I can see that. I can see that. Moving forward. Number 6. What breed of dog is Cujo? A, an Akita, B, a Saint Bernard, C, a Chow, or D, a Basset Hound? I shall repeat. What breed of dog is Cujo? A, Akita, B, a Saint Bernard, C, a Chow, or D, a Basset Hound? Let's see how many D's we got. People love to answer ironically, which actually doesn't mean ironically when it's used ironically. But I digress. Indy says a Chihuahua would have been a lot funnier. Yes, but I had a Basset Hound when I was a kid. So it was actually a tribute to my erstwhile Basset. I had two, but well, I always think of the one particularly. And Pat says talked with the star D Wallace. We were actually talking about her today on Tug's channel about how, when you can't get D Wallace, because the woman who played Tasha Yar from Pet Cemetery. Mr. Lynn says, "Didn't King write Running Man yes, it was one of the Bachman books." And Tree says, "Bob, I shared for the very first time, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate it." And Pat says, "Yes, twice." Oh, excellent, excellent. And Gary Carver says, "I didn't like Cujo." A lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't. Did I repeat this? I'm gonna repeat it, then faster to the answer. What breed of dog is Cujo? Is it A, Akita, B, Saint Bernard, C, Chow, or D, Basset Hound? And yes, Chihuahua probably would have been funnier, but I went with Basset Hound. They also have the sweetest temperament, so no, it couldn't possibly be Basset Hound. But it was, in fact, B, a Saint Bernard. B, a Saint Bernard, which actually, they too have a very sweet temperament by and large. Number 5, and then we'll get scores. Wait, actually, hang on. Let's get scores now. 'Cause I need to get a drink. I'm very parched tonight. So, what do you mean it's 5 for 5? Emily is 5 for 5. Excellent. Zublex is 4 out of 5. Brogu is 5 for 5. Indy is so far so good. I'm extrapolating that's 5 for 5. Pat says, geez, he's popular. Tab is 5 for 5. Former Content is 5 for 5. Mr. Lit is 5 for 5. Tug is 0 out of 5, which means Tug just got here. Tug, if you got any less than 5 out of 5 on this, I'd be astonished, but you can catch up and replay. We were just talking about you. And Gary says, how about Cujo as a cat? Cujo cat. And WD is 5 for 5. Gary is 5 for 5. John Doe is 9 out of 7 as opposed to 7 of 9. Texas, I'll just go ahead and give myself a 5 for 5. You should. A lot of people saying hello to Tug now. Key says 4 out of 5 with the bonus answer of Roger the Basset Hound. Wow! Give the man a cigar. He actually knew the Basset Hound's name. But yes, Roger was in fact the Basset Hound. And again, we had another one whose name was Cushing, but he never quite fit into the family like poor old Roger did. And I can't blame Cushing for that. But anywho, moving forward. Mr. Led is Tug. Yeah, Tug would definitely been 5 for 5. And Esmeralda is 5 for 5. Any more scores from mine or yours? I'm guessing not. So anyway, I'm going to pick up with number 5. Which of these adaptations does not feature an appearance by Mr. King? Was it A, Needful Things, B, The Shawshank Redemption, C, The Stand, or D, Creepshow? I shall repeat. Which of these King adaptations does not feature an appearance by Mr. King? Was it A, Needful Things, B, The Shawshank Redemption, C, The Shining, I'm bite my tongue, C, The Stand, or D, Creepshow? And I remember when I was getting ready to do that. I haven't seen Shawshank Redemption is one of those. I love the Shawshank Redemption. I really love it, but I haven't seen it start to finish in probably 20 years. Like I'll put it on TV, like oh look, Shawshank Redemption's on it. It's halfway over, or I'll put it on when I'm getting ready to go to work, or stuff like that. I haven't seen it straight through, and I was racking my brains. I'm like, was King in? And no, he is not. It's one of the few films he's actually not in. But no, he was not in Shawshank Redemption. Moving forward, number 4. What is the main character hiding in Bizarre Buddy Picture, The Apt Pupil? Boy, Tug will certainly get this, as will Tracy. A, an alien. B, a former Nazi. C, a stray dog. Or D, Jimmy Hoffa. Mr. Lynn says Shawshank and The Godfather. I will always stop and watch. Yeah, me too. Me too. The Godfather Redemption. I shall repeat. What is the main character hiding in Bizarre Buddy Picture, The Opt Pupil? A, an alien. B, a former Nazi. C, a stray dog. Or D, Jimmy Hoffa. The Telltale Heart. Well played, young man. Well played. See any more people answering? You people got this. Oh, John Doe says Mac and Me versus E.T. E.T. The correct answer, of course, a former Nazi. Although technically not a former Nazi, but a former member of the Third Reich. Number 3. Which work by King does not feature an annoyingly unhealthy religious fanatic? Is it A, Opt Pupil, B, The Mist, C, Shawshank Redemption, or D, Misery? We were talking about before. Stephen King has this thing about religious fanatics. So there's usually one in most of his works, but not this one. I shall repeat. Which work by King does not feature an annoyingly unhealthy religious fanatic? Is it A, At Pupil, B, The Mist, C, Shawshank Redemption, or D, Misery? Progu says there's no such thing as a form of Nazi. Former. Former Nazi. Um, I suppose there's no such thing as a former Nazi either. Ask General Patton. Ooh. Too soon? Let's just see. Gary says, I love to try some of your food tea. I bet it's good. Our food is fantastic. Our food is fantastic. John Doe says a killer tomato versus a tomato killer. I go with killer tomato, unless it's singing puberty love. And Tracy, yes, I was gonna say Tracy. You most definitely would have got this. A lot of people said C. No, no. The warden, and how should I put this? It's fake airs, but he's kind of a religious fanatic. Um, he requires them all to have a Bible. He won't permit any blasphemy, even though he permits all kinds of other shenanigans. Um, I I've never actually read the short story, believe it or not. I'm ashamed of myself for not, but I believe in the short story, it's actually two different wardens. One was the early religious fanatic, and the second one was the shenaniganer. But the warden it has that annoying air of religious superiority that King hates. So, but there's no religious fanatic in Opt Pupil. So the correct answer is A. I just blew a lot of people's perfect score, didn't I? Sorry. Talk to Indy. Maybe he can plead your case. Oh, look, Angela's here. Hi, everyone. Guess I will have to watch the replay to catch the quiz. Well, that's okay. We have two more questions, and they're the most fun. So, anyway, thank you, Angela, for joining us tonight. So great to see you. And when we're done with the trivia questions, we can pick up with monsters versus monsters. Again, the game is you take two monsters from your favorite movie, TV show, book, comic book, whatever, two of your favorite monsters who have never actually had a confrontation, put them in an imaginary pairing, and decide who would win and why. Although most of the ones we've done tonight have been foregone conclusions. People haven't had to explain themselves. Oh, Gary Carpenter says the mummy versus the space monster. Um, I'm racking my brain. All I can think of with the space monsters, all I can think of is Frankenstein versus what's that movie? Frankenstein versus the monster from space. But if you put that monster up against the mummy, I would go with the monster. Anyway, question two. This almost prophetic King classic is about a presidential candidate who pretends to be a moral man of the people, but is in fact an emotionally off balance narcissist, continued, who would destroy us all given the opportunity. Was it A, 1922, B, The Mangler, C, The Shawshank Redemption, or D, The Dead Zone? I shall repeat, if I dare. Number two, this almost prophetic King classic is about a presidential candidate who pretends to be a moral man of the people, but is in fact an emotionally off balance narcissist, continued, who would destroy us all given the opportunity. Is it A, 1922, B, The Mangler, C, Shawshank Redemption, or D, The Dead Zone? And if you people inferred any hidden meaning in that question, well, sorry. This one says, you got me on that one, Bob. Brogan said the United States election. Um, Zubik says, reminds me of someone. Tracy's saying nighters to Sarah. Apparently, Sarah, you're packing it in for the evening. I understand. Get some rest. Hope you feel better. And we'll talk to you very, 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 very soon. Gary says Joker and Pennywise versus Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Joker and Pennywise. I would pay to see that. Tug says pretty much every presidential joke candidate ever. Emily Rose laughing when Zublik says, and a lot of people say goodnight to Sarah. And yes, of course, the answer is The Dead Zone, which I believe that's the movie that really put Christopher Walken on the map. I mean, yeah, he was in uh The Deer Hunter, definitely, but that was really more of a De Niro piece. He'd been other stuff, but I mean, I when I was younger, I had seen um uh The Deer Hunter, but The Dead Zone, I think, really, in my opinion, cemented Christopher Walken as an actor in my book. But yes, Dead Zone is the correct answer. And the number one, at least for tonight, and I believe I've talked about this before, so some of you might have an advantage. Which of these horror masterworks is a rare collaboration of Mr. King and Harlan Ellison? A. Night Surf. B. The Devil is Not Mocked. C. Grandma. Or D. A Boy and His Dog. And he says, "Oh no, here comes Bob's walking again." Angela says, "Killer Clowns from Outer Space versus Freddy Krueger." Ooh, Killer Clowns. So Luke says, "What? He won an Oscar for The Deer Hunter?" Oh, like I said, I saw him in The Deer Hunter, and I thought he was amazing in The Deer Hunter. But whenever I think Deer Hunter, the first thing that pops into my mind is Robert De Niro. he, Walken was amazing. The scene where he has shell shock and he can't even remember his family life. That's and he starts crying. It's a very sad scene. Um, but again, I think Dead Zone, that was really his starring role, if you know what I'm saying. But again, if you remember him more from Deer Hunter, excellent. And Tug says he'd been around for a while, but I think Dead Zone was his first starring role. Maybe Brimstone Indie. Um, the first film he did would have been 1977's Annie Hall. He plays Annie's kid brother. Um, and then he did Deer Hunter at Thank You in Indy says in 78. Dead Zone was 82, 83. Forbes Condensed says, I'm embarrassed that I don't know that one. LOL. We've talked about it on this channel, but it's ooh, my trap answer actually worked. Sorry, folks. The Devil is Not Mocked, I believe, is actually written by Rod Serling, but it was on an episode of Night Gallery, and it wasn't collaborated on by either one of King or Harlan Ellison. Brogan says, when it comes to the Deer Hunter, yes, Robert De Niro is the one you think of. Christopher Walken is probably the second thing you think of, or Meryl Streep. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Elvin Arelda says Boy and His Dog was a fun movie. We were talking about that one earlier today, too. Emily says, what was the question? I stepped away. Question number one is which of these horror masterworks is a rare collaboration of Mr. King and Harlan Ellison? Is it A. Night Surf, B. The Devil is Not Mocked, C. Grandma, or D. A Boy and His Dog? And I believe, hopefully, you just got those. Oh, the Anderson tapes. Zublik. And Tug, I hope you just picked up on those as well. And he says Watkins been acting in movies since the late 60s. I thought his first film was Annie Hall. Am I incorrect? I thought his first film was Annie Hall, but Indy, I will yield. Teb says I think Christopher Walken started his career as a child actor in the 50s. Apparently, I'm way misinformed on Christopher Walken. I'm terribly sorry. Gary Cameron says Indy. I'm not really a fan of Walken. Zubik says Walken was in Naked City. Well, I did say film, not TV, so. Forum says, I don't know, a boy and his dog left a bad taste in my mouth. It's pretty darn intense. Yes, indeed it was. Christopher Walken is now in my mind on SNL. I need more cowbell. Yeah, Brogu. That's he. Apparently, he gets like to this day. He gets harassed by passing fans who say they need more cowbell. And Angela says, I have no clue about number one. LOL. John Doe said I had to reboot. Well, I'm glad you made it back. And he says he played the lead in Dogs of War in 1980 for sure. I yeah, all right, yeah. I completely forgot about that movie. I completely forgot about that movie. Emily says I just guessed. Zook says Walken's first film was the Ander- Oh, that's why he said the Anderson tapes. Oh, okay. And he says Grandma. By the way, yes, yes. Long story short, Stephen King wrote this incredibly atmospheric, almost H.P. Lovecraft esque. It's actually a love letter to Lovecraft, if you ask me. Um, Short story called Grandma. It was adapted in for the Twilight Zone reboot in the 80s. Harlan Ellison wrote the teleplay, and he actually worked with King while doing it so as to make sure it didn't lose a note. As Ellison put it, he goes, "We're going to scare the shit out of you." If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's amazing. You can find it right here on YouTube. Um, it's very creepy. I don't want to tell you anything about it. I don't want to give the game away. I will say Diane Flugel, who I had a massive crush on when I was in high school, is in it. She died tragically, early onset dementia. Very sad story, but she plays the mom in it. And anyway, the correct answer is C, Grandma. Oh, the Daily Beast is here. My internet is in and out, but I'm trying to watch. So glad. I thought I could have sworn I saw your icon earlier. But maybe you tried to get in earlier and got kicked out. But anyway, yes, I'm glad you made it. Tug says, yes, Grandma. And Tug says, I cheated, so no point for me. But yes, let's get scores. Esmeralda is I get 8 out of 10. My best score so excellent. Tug says, I'm starting to think you had a crush on nearly every actress. Pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Gary Cameron says Captain Jack Sparrow versus Popeye. Jack Sparrow. Teb is 8 for 10. Emily is 9 for 10. Wajimine is 8 for 10. Zerplix is 7 out of 10. Tug is 4 for 5. Formless Content is 8 out of 10. I think I'm going to give it to you. Angela says 1 for 1 since I came in late. No worries. Tracy got 6 of 10. Mr. Lid says 8 of 10. I missed the last two. No worries. No worries. John Doe says you should see the Invisible Man versus his brother, the Invisible Stan. It's on YouTube. Very funny wrestling match. Sounds like a blast. Was that a Benny Hill bit? And Gary Carpenter says, I'll check it out. And Gary Carpenter says 7 out of 10. Brogu is 9 out of 10. Teb says, I got to get going. Good night. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up a little early night too. I'm like I said, I'm fighting something. So I want to try to uh, crash a little bit early. Tug says, Creature from the Black Lagoon versus Phantom of the Opera. I'm trying to envision a situation where they would actually have access to one another. But I'm gonna go with Creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, and Zublik says, "Come on, that creature that almost ate the Millennium Falcon was so big that no other cinema monster could beat him." All right, I'm gonna give that to you. And Keith E says, "Gossamer versus Sullivan Monsters Inc." Ooh. I'm gonna go with Sully. I'm gonna go with Sully. And if Bugs Bunny can defeat you, Sully can defeat you. Brogu says, when it comes to Godzilla versus Gamera, I pick Godzilla. Yeah, that's pretty much consensus. And then he says, if she married Cowboy Tom Horn, she would be Darlene Flugenhorn. Food for thought. I got some of them correct. I'm sure you got all of them correct. And yeah, yeah, Darlene. Thank you. I think I said Diane. Darlene, of course, Darlene Flugel, and Darlene Flugelhorn. That would be absolutely hysterical. Actually, now that you mention it. Oh, and speaking of actresses, Mr. Lynn says good night. It's been fun. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a blast having you with us tonight. A lot of people saying 90 nights. Gary Gabber says Mothra versus Giant Claw. I'm gonna have to go with Mothra. Tug says Turtle ain't got nothing on Godzilla. And Christopher Wilkins says good night to Emily. And Gary Carver says Mothra versus Deadly Mantis. Gotta go with Mothra. Gotta go with Mothra. John Doe says it's a real match. A lot of people say good night to Tracy and everyone else who's going 99. A lot of good nights. But one thing I did want to mention, Elvira was in the Born in East LA music video, and you do briefly see her um, when they're having like this like parade down a main street. She's not wearing her Elvira wig, but you can tell it's still her. As far as the redhead, what I was doing, because of course Born in East LA, the end sequence is an homage, a tip of the hat to Randy Newman's "I Love LA," and in that he's driving with this gorgeous redhead who actually appears in at least one of the music video with him. I can't think of the name of it, but that, in fact, was not Elvira. In fact, it didn't even look like her, although they were both redheads in real life. Her name was, I want to say Laura Howard, and she was a model in the 80s. But as always, my anecdotes had a wire crossed, and I was remembering bits and pieces from two different things. Sort of like reverse cognitive thought, where I take two completely different pieces of information and confuse them. Danny says, "Can you hear me now?" I certainly can. Oh, Gary Garber says Mothra versus the Black Scorpion. That's a good one. I'm gonna go with the Black Scorpion. And he says Mothra versus all of Bill Cosby's sweaters from a show. Definitely Mothra. I would never bet on Bill Cosby. And Tug says, I'm sure those sweaters have ruffles, uh, dust sewn in. And Zulu says, good night, Emily. Happy honeymoon. Oh, happy honeymoon. Definitely, definitely. And Angela says, good night, all. Oh, Nubus is here. Nubus is, there is the, I'll come again. You just jump when I was trying to read. Anubis says, there is the thrash man himself. Hope you're doing well, my friend. You too. Unfortunately, Danny, do me a favor. Give Anubis a link, by the way. Mr. Anubis, you're just in time to say goodnight. We were just wrapping things up. I'm so glad you stopped by. Um, love the new show you got coming out. By the way, I'll try to like to make it. By the way, and I'm really hoping that you, Kevin, and I can collaborate in November, like Kevin has invited me to. But thank you so much for stopping by. Anywho, oh, and thank you very much for the link. And Anubis says, thank you, good sir. We definitely need to collab again. Yes, I keep wishing I could make it, but my work schedule is still pretty dicey. So it seems like I'm always working. And I guess your work schedule is pretty crazy too. But you know what? We'll stay in touch and we will definitely get something going in the not too distant future. And anywho, but like I said, I want to thank all you guys for dropping by tonight, by the way. And Dragon, if you're still here, take care of yourself, and we're going to see you again really soon. Like I said, Scott said you're going to come back and work with us next year. Looking forward to it. But anyway, you take care of yourself, and thank you so much for stopping by. Anyway, I want to thank all you guys for coming by tonight. I had a blast doing this. I hope you guys all had a blast too. Like I said, I look forward to doing these all week. The next one, however, will be after Halloween. So everyone, please, happy Halloween. Oh, Zuplex says, Emily says to Zuplex, you're invited to my wedding, not to the honeymoon. Oh, Keebler Danger is here. It says, just stopped in to hit the thumbs up. Good night, Pawns and chat. Well, your timing is perfect because we're just starting to wrap things up. But Danny, if you could give Keebler Danger a link too, by the way. I love your AI music, by the way, Keebler. And I heard about your recent problem with a certain constabulary. Very, very, very sorry to hear about that, by the way. And I hope that all works out for you. Ismail says, great show, Thresh. Thank you. Well, you guys make it great. Because, like I said, if it wasn't for you guys, it'd be just me, like, sitting here looking in the comments, pretending to answer things people said. And he says, thanks for the trivia, Bob. Well, thank you guys as well. Thank you for playing and enjoying. And yes, Superplex. Michael, if you haven't hit the sack or lost internet connection, really, really, really hope you feel better and get well soon and get out of the hospital. And Kevin says, happy Halloween, everyone. Definitely, definitely. And Kimberly says, hey, and good night, Wajamin and Superplex, and thanks, Pawns. You're very, very welcome, Keebler. You take care of yourself. And Tom says, "Thanks, Pawns." And Tommy, thank you as well. By the way, it's great to see you again. By the way, anyway, I believe if I've missed anyone, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. By the way, the last live chat we had, by the way, last week, 1189, 1189 comments. Now, a lot of those were people saying hi to one another, but I'm sure when you have that many comments, I'm sure I skipped a couple that were very important, and I apologize again. But anyway, I will have some new content this week. I'm not sure what it is, and we are doing another live stream. Although next week's will probably be the collaboration of Danny, Sarah, and myself. Um, Not sure what we're going to be doing yet, but it'll probably be something cool, something horror related. But anyway, until next time, folks, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to see you all again very, 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 very soon. Good night.